I'm really on the shorter side, so sorry, no offense. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Corbyn Clement, and today
that's his mother.
Yes, that is my mother. My name is Corbyn Clement, and I will be introducing Mr. Brian Black. So, Dr. Brian A. Black is Global Director, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for Hexion Incorporated. In this role, Dr. Black supports the development, implementation, and monitoring of the company's DE&I strategy around the globe. He serves as hands-on practitioner, collaborating cross-functionally with the leadership team to build equitable practices, procedures, and infrastructures across the enterprise. Previously, Dr. Black held increasing levels of leadership roles with Thermo Fisher Scientific in the areas of DE&I and Spirit Aerosystems, in the areas of global culture, DE&I, human resources, EH&S, community relations, and marketing operations. He held several positions within the National Urban League system, including the Urban League of Kansas, President and Chief Executive Officer. Dr. Black has received numerous awards and accolades, including the Spirit Aerosystems Leader in Diversity Award, Butler Community College Diversity Leadership Award, National Trio Achiever Award, Wichita Business Journal Leaders in Diversity Award, A. Price Woodard Humanitarian Award. In addition, he is a Distinguished Fellow of the Institute of Educational Leadership and the Kansas Health Foundation and the Charles F. Kettering Foundation Community Leadership Project graduate. Dr. Black has served on numerous community boards and committees and currently serves as a member of Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity, Lambda, Boulay, and Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Alpha Rho Lambda Chapter. He holds bachelor's and master's degrees in business from the University of South Carolina. In addition, he earned a Doctor of Management and Organizational Leadership from the University of Phoenix. With all that aside, Dr. Black is not only a great guy, an extremely smart and well-educated individual, but he is also a very great family man. He has loved my sister and I for as long as I can remember. My grandmother and my aunts pretty much took him into our family, and he's been a part of my life for quite some time now, and I'm blessed and proud to call Brian Black my uncle. Thank you.
I just want to thank Dr. Don for this opportunity and Uncle Black for this opportunity as well. I'm not going to be before you long. I'm just going to sing a quick song. It's called Amazing Grace.
Okay, now tell us who you are.
Oh, I'm Arayia holder. I'm a freshman year, and I'm also the freshman class president as well. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost,
I've only just a minute. Only 60 seconds in, forced upon me, can't refuse it. Didn't seek it, didn't even choose it. But it's just a tiny little minute, and eternity is in. If I suffer, I lose it. I must give an account if I abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My niece and nephew, give them a big round. First, giving praises to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. You know, I'm a son of a grandson of a gospel preacher, and as Arayia was saying that song, I was about ready to do a little dance. I'm from South Carolina, originally, and that's the kind of singing we do down south, so thank you, baby, for that. You got me excited. But greetings to all who are assembled here today. Again, many thanks to my nephew Corbyn and my niece for that song. First of all, I want to thank President Frombgen.
Liz is fine.
Liz, and I was practicing that before I got up here. But thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here today, and thank you for our initial meeting. Dr. Don, what can I say about Dr. Don? Hey, you know, Dr. Don calls, and what do you do? Just say yes. You don't even, but thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for our friendship and our partnership over the years. I've known Don for many years, from my Urban League days to when I was working for Spirit Aero Systems. And when I was in Wichita, originally I was part of the United Methodist Church and was here on the campus several times under the leadership of Bishop James. And I am so happy to be back here at Southwestern. And I just commend you on the things that you're doing here. As I was preparing for my talk today, I conducted a little research, and I learned that Southwestern College, from its beginning in 1885, has always been open to diversity, resulting into this notion of having this radical, inclusive culture. That felt all right with me. This notion of a radical, inclusive culture, I got excited about that thing. This notion about a radical, inclusive culture, I said, I better go on down to Southwestern to see what that's all about. That felt all right with me. And as I thought about this notion of this radical culture, it aligns very well as you think about the legacy of Dr. King. This notion of individuals being judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skins was a radical notion during that time. You would think that would be something simple, but during this time, this was a radical notion that people would actually be judged by the content of their character. However, I am inspired by his focus on the importance. Here's the key with this. The importance of joining together to work for the common humanity, which he called the beloved community, which would require builders. Without community builders, we can't go very far. And without a harmonious community, he stated, we won't realize the dream. So as I thought about Southwestern and I thought about the legacy of Dr. King, you've been on this journey from the beginning. King envisioned a society based on justice and equal opportunity for all, and love. Love was the foundation of his work. So you gotta love people to be able to walk past them non-violently when they're attacking you. You gotta have some love. Amen. You gotta have some love down in you to have hoses on you, and you'll continue to press in order to get there. His vision was not even local, it was global. A global vision where poverty, hunger, and homelessness are not tolerated. So this notion of the beloved community is achieved when builders of diverse backgrounds come together in an interdependent way into a relationship of love, mutual respect, and care that seeks to realize justice within our community and the broader world for all. A radical notion. Now again, I'm a son of a preacher. And my great-grandfather always said, don't make people glad to see you come and see you go by talking too long. So I can assure you the same thing Elizabeth Taylor assured all her husbands. I won't be keeping you long. So Dr. King said, people fail to get along because they fear each other, and they fear each other because they don't know each other, and they don't know each other because they fail to communicate with each other. And as we pause on today in observance of Dr. King's holiday, the question I want to ask and raise to all of you here is I ask you to ponder is how can your personal mission and life work be advanced by considering the tenets of Dr. King, or what I like to call a dream in progress. So prior to 1955, Dr. King was virtually unknown, but 13 years later he would lead the reshaping of history and lead America to begin to fulfilling its promise of ensuring those unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. For nonviolent protests to begin, jailed numerous times, Dr. King and other civil rights activists fought. They fought for freedoms that we are afforded here today. They fought for this assembly that we're able to do today. In his most famous speech of I Have a Dream, Dr. King shared a number of key points that we're living out today. In the midst of more than 250,000 people who attended the March on Washington, his immortal words rang out that I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. That question here is how we are defining character. The question is, how do we define character within the context of his dream? Dr. King's approach was one of using your intellect and nonviolent protest to pursue a course of change that enabled us to make this world a better place for generations. And you know, the thing about this, his love, he understood that this probably would not happen in his generation. That's love. To work on something that you know you may not personally benefit from. I like to tell the story that during this time, there were lots of folks involved. Dr. King was on the front lines, but there were lots of folks involved during this time. And I always like to notably highlight women, because sometimes women don't always get their due. My grandmother was very fortunate in her life, and this is one of her most proudest things, is that she participated in these activities. She and her sisters were in the kitchen. They were the ones frying the chicken, working on the greens so that Dr. Gein and Dr. Abernathy and all the marchers would have a meal and would be prepared. Dorothy Height was the woman in the room. King almost didn't get to make the I Have a Dream speech because the men got to arguing on who was going to make the speech. But Dorothy Height was the one that said, Martin is the one. Martin is the one to give the speech. Women have played a huge role and continue to play a huge role. Come on, ladies, put your hands together. A huge role. That's a whole other speech. But I just don't think you can talk about King's legacy without talking about the women that impacted. And Coretta Scott King. That's a whole other discussion as well. But a notable scholar, Dr. King had a tremendous respect for education. He stated that the function of education, here we go, was to teach people how to think, both intensely and critically. And that's why you're here, students, at Southwestern, is to learn how to think and to think critically. And the times that we're living in, this is so important. He believed that the goal of a true education was intelligence and character. So if we assert to believe this statement, that our responsibility here is twofold. First, in the pursuit of intellect. Webster defines intellect as the power of knowing as distinguished from the power to feel. The capacity of knowledge, the ability to think in a logical way. We're living in a time when people are not doing the critical analysis of the rhetoric. With .com this and .com that, social media platform, text messaging, and now artificial intelligence. Therefore, we as a community of builders, you must do the critical analysis, young people, of the rhetoric to better understand the decisions that need to be made to lift all in the community. One thing that college taught me was how to think and solve problems. And that for every problem, there is always an answer. The answer may not be discovered or redefined yet, but there's always an answer. And to get to the answer, sometimes requires us to listen and go past the familiar, forgive the awkwardness of the moment, pause, and consider before responding. Let me say that again. Be willing to go past the familiar, forgive the awkwardness of the moment, pause and consider before responding. The second responsibility is the development of character. There are a number of definitions for character, but I like to use this one. Character is moral excellence. So the way someone thinks, feels, and behaves. So I'm going to say it the way Grandmama would say it. Grandmama would say character is having your talk match up with your walk. It's how you behave. It's how you behave. It's how you behave. It's how you show up, brother. It's how you show up in dealers. It's how you show up on the basketball court. It's how you show up when no one else is looking. It's how you show up when you think there's the lights out. It's how you show up when you're walking down the street. It's how you show up. It's what character's all about.
Yes, sir.
It's how you show up when everyone in the room looks like you and we think we're in the same space and someone says something inappropriate. It's how you show up. It's how you show up and you behave. Living the dream in my early career, for me, was all about pursuing something more. At that time, I thought something more exciting, more important, something that paid more money. However, along the way, I realized that I had the desire and the ability to make a difference in a way that was not oppressive to those around me. That I had the ability to lead with empathy. And I cared enough to want to create an environment enjoy coming to work. It was at this point that I transitioned from being an individual contributor and only being concerned about my own progress and limited impact to being a builder that was leading people and affecting entire organizations. Hello, somebody. Living a dream is not done by going at it alone. It is not done by just working hard. It also takes a network of people, both men, women, gay, straight, non-binary, young, old, person with disabilities, veterans, you name it, on and on and on, the community. It takes us all. Who you are not, who you are, to only gain and give back to each other. It's achieving your dreams and goals, as well as taking what you learn along the way and pouring it into others. It's helping to make others smarter about what it really takes to get ahead. Dr. King's commitment was not just about his generation. He was focused on setting the path for what he called the beloved community for future generations. And as I close, students, you stand on the shoulders of many who've gone before you and are here with you today. You stand on the shoulders of your family and your friends who have gone before you and who are cheering you on today. You stand, I said, on the shoulders of many. Oh, you didn't get here alone. For you see, without your family, your friends, words of encouragement, understanding, and every now and then, a nudge that you can do this thing called college, perhaps you may not be sitting right here today at Southwestern College. You stand, I tell you, students, you stand on the shoulders of Southwestern College faculty and staff and alumni who continue to go above and beyond as you discern your vocational path of service to your community and to the world. I tell you, you stand. You stand on these shoulders, and for these, the individuals are the drum keepers for the dream builders. Yes, you are the dream builder of the dreamer. These individuals beat the drum for you to succeed in college and life. However, students, you are the ones, you are the ones that dare to dream that you can go to college and achieve greatness. You are the ones that dare to dream that one day, you will be sitting at this very moment attending Southwestern College. Hello, somebody. You are the one that dare to dream, and as you continue your vocational discernment here at Southwestern, you begin to transition to become the dream keeper for future Southwestern builders. And you must begin to beat your drum for the future dream builders that will come to Southwestern College. So what I say to you, students, beat your drum. Beat your drum as you prepare to enter the workforce, to let employers know when you hire a Southwestern College graduate, you are hiring a builder. Beat the drum. Beat your drum as you continue to pursue your educational pursuits towards master's and doctoral degrees, demonstrating how Southwestern College students has prepared you as lifelong learners and builders. Beat your drum. Beat your drum standing for justice and equal opportunity for all. Beat your drum, because now you become the dream of the dream builder. Beat your drum. Beat your drum because other dream builders are trying to get where you are today. Beat your drum because there are dream builders who not even found their way to Southwestern yet. They may have lost their way. They may have lost their steps. They may have given up. They and be it loud because there are family members and friends that need to be here. So can I hear you today, Southwestern? Beat your drum, beat your drum, beat your drum, because without beating on the drum of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all will not be achieved. I bid you Godspeed. Let's get in front of you. Oh, yeah. There we go.
We have a small swag bag of things for you. I'm sorry. This swag bag, these goodies and lovely things. So I'll leave that there. But then just have a sit for a second so we can honor you for a moment. So this is a letter written by, holy smokes, what shoe? There was a young lady back in 2015 that came to Southwestern. It was a very similar story to what some of the other students had said. She came from an unfortunate background in Wichita. Her mother was my hairdresser and had a very dysfunctional life. And I pursued her from middle school to go to Southwestern. And she said, just like Lena said, she was as far away from Wichita as possible. Anyway, I recruited her to Southwestern. And she came and she did exceptional. She graduated in 3.5 years. And she got a boyfriend while she was here. And we were going to go to a career event that you were putting on up in Wichita. And she was so busy getting her boyfriend's clothes ironed that she didn't take any time for her own life. And so I told her to go back to the house and put on a skirt. At least put some lipstick on and an earring or something. And so she went unwillingly, she did not want to be there, and you gave her a job. You gave that girl a job and changed her life forever. From little Southwestern College, you made her dream big. And so I asked her to write you a letter. I asked her to come, but she could not. And so I asked her to write a letter. And so she wrote a letter, and so I'm going to have Liz read it to you because I want for you to understand the impact that she had. And I want Liz, who didn't know her, to see the impact of this young lady that she met a year ago.
Right. Are you ready? Gonna cry? Let's be so I think I will too. So, dear Mr. Black, I learned that you'll be speaking at Southwestern, my alma mater, and while I regret not being able to attend in person, I wanted to express my sentiments in this letter. Recalling our initial meeting at CCAP, where you emphasized the significance of rapport during your speaking segment. I have held on to that wisdom ever since. In fact, I have made it a point to share the same message in my recent speaking engagements, including the one at Southwestern College a few months ago. She was here in August. Utilizing the power of rapport and a touch of charisma, I secured my first internship. This brought us together again, this time in your opposite spirit, where we delved into the beauty and importance of seeing more individuals like ourselves in leadership positions. Observing your career some of my time at Spirit fills me with joy as I witness the embodiment of intention. Boldly put, dirty light. It seems that you are precisely where you were meant to be. You crying yet? Close to it? The impact of your influence has been pivotal in my own success, with just a few words spoken to a crowd resonating deeply with a woman whose progress has felt it like a gift. Southwestern is home to many students akin to my former self, impressionable and seeking direction. Is that true, students? Impressionable and seeking direction?
Yes.
It should. I am eager and optimistic about the positive impact your presence will have on campus. I have faith you'll have a few more developing careers Perhaps maybe even mentor some along the way. Nonetheless, Southwestern is blessed to have you. I would concur with that. And even more, you're blessed to have Southwestern. I would also concur with that. Especially if Dr. Dawn has anything to do with it. She's a woman with a beautiful mission, and who can say no to her? I'm adding, you can see. Who can say no to Dr. Dawn? Enjoy your time with the beloved Southwestern. Yours truly, Cierra West.
So we wanted to take a few minutes just with you to be able to answer some questions. A little brief fireside chat between the two of us. And so the world is scary. The world is scary. The news is scary. Everything you see is scary. We're all divided. Seems like everyone, no one likes anybody, and it's hard to feel safe wherever you are. So talk to us about how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the stress about what you see and what you deal with on a daily basis?
That's a good question. And I'm gonna take a different twist on it. First of all, I say don't believe the hype. I think that media has a way of presenting information that can make, and I don't have anything against the media industry. I was in the industry once, but we can over just take one thing and make it feel like it's bigger than what it is. I'm not suggesting it's not there, but I do think this is why this analysis has to be done. You have to really pull back the curtain and ask the five whys and what's the issue behind the issue behind the issue behind the issue to really get to what's going on. Because if you're only dependent on what was on the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news, if that's your only filter or whatever you got off of Google that day, you will be terrified. Because they're going to feed you only certain information. Now, when something alarms me when I see it, I begin to do the analysis. I begin to want to say, okay, let me go learn more about this. Who do I need to call? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to whatever? So that I can truly understand what is actually going on. Here's the thing that I would encourage you to do is we tend to grab a hold to what that headline is and go, oh my goodness, and we start running. Versus identifying where are your allies and connecting to your allies as soon as you can. Because what I've come to find out in my career, in my life, there are more allies in the room than what people know. Sometimes it's hard for allies to connect with each other because allies may not always look from an optic standpoint. We may not always look alike. We may look like that we're very, very different. But when we get beyond the optics, we begin to realize there are a lot of things that are alike. We begin to realize that we're both of faith. We begin to realize that we both support seniors. We begin to realize that we both support et cetera, and that's part of the issue, is getting beyond the optics so that you can identify the allies, and that's what Dr. King did. So if you look at the movement, the civil rights movement was a very multicultural, diverse movement. Black, white, Japanese, Asian, you name it. It was multiple levels. The sanitation workers, the folks in the CEO, it was a very diverse group of people working together. And so whenever you're feeling that way, I just encourage, I teach at Frombgen University in Columbus, Ohio, and I tell my students, look for the allies. Look for the allies. They may be closer than what you think. Because if you look at every positive movement in our country, if we go as far back as Harriet Tubman, I like to call her Dr. Harriet Tubman. Even along the Underground Railroad, she had to identify allies. And I actually, in Columbus, there's actually a stop for the Underground Railroad in Columbus. And as I walked there, it's like I could hear the voices in the basement. But she identified allies. There were people who wanted to speak out, but were afraid based on the situation. If I look at my genealogy, am I going too long? If I look at my genealogy, cut me off from that. My four removed grandmother was an Irish woman. And it was an interesting situation. Her son had a relationship with my grandma, Lula. Now, if I went by the headlines said that he was the slave master, she was the African-American woman that was raped and had his kids. That's not true. That was the line. When we dig down into this, they had a love affair. We found love letters. They absolutely loved each other. But because of the time, they had to present in a certain way. He never referred to her as a slave. He referred to her as his house servant. But she was well taken, and as we were doing the study, we found her in the early 1800s. She was well dressed in leather boots and all. So how can a person that wasn't enslaved have these types of things? So this headline just could not be correct. So as we dug into it, I remember growing up, I was fortunate to know my great-grandmother, who this grandfather would have been her great-grandfather. And she remembered him. And his name was James Sullivan. And he was known for riding through the neighborhood on this white horse. And I remember her telling me growing up that he always knew that they were his grandchildren. He knew that those were his children, but he couldn't publicly do it. But when they would wake up in the morning, there would be hams, there would be flour, there would be all these things because he wanted to take care of his family. And in the middle of my great-grandparents' house, there was this cellar door that they would cover with this blanket, with the rug. And I couldn't figure out, why would we put it in the middle of the floor, Grant? And so she said, well, honey, that was where we had to hide all the goods. She said, because when she called it Paw. She said, when Paw left all this, if we had got caught up with it, people would assume that we stole it. And we would have gotten in trouble. She said, so we would have to bury it, and then we would just ease it out. And then there was another cellar in the yard, back in the garden they had, where they also did things. So I share that personal story because it gives me so much joy to know that I am Irish. I'm also from Equatorial Guinea, the African side of things, but I am from Belfast, Ireland. So that's why I'm feisty. And on St. Patrick's Day, my family party. We learned the Irish side of us. We have a big celebration and learning about our Irish heritage. So again, allies. It was a love affair. And he loved her. He loved his children. He got 2 other sons. And I'll end on this. There were 2 churches. Reedy Fork Baptist Church, and there was another. Growing up, it was the white Reedy Fork and the black Reedy Fork. No one talked about it. I said, what? What do you mean the white and the black? I don't get it. Headline. But when I went into the cemetery, I saw that all the tombstone names were the same names in the black cemetery. I said, they got to be something. Them got to be our peoples. And so we dug into it, we realized that was Grandpa's children. He decided to give money for his black children to have a church because at that time, his black children could not go inside of the church. They had what they called a brush harbor. They had to stand over, but they couldn't enter the church because of the time. He saw that and said, no, I want my grandchildren to also have a church. He went and gave, which was a lot of money, I guess back at that time, he gave $650-something to this man to go get some lumber. And then my grandfather Newton built the church. And today, the church is on the property that he gave. But here's the beauty part of it. When my great-grandmother died, all of a sudden these white folks came to the funeral. And they lined up with us. Got in line very quietly. We all marched in. And they went to my grandmother, who's deceased now, and they all shook hands, and then they laughed. And I said, well, who are these people? And I was like, how old is woman? It's like, who are these people? I said, you all have got to tell us. But my grandmother, because of the time that she lived in, even in present day, she just passed away last year, she was afraid to talk about it. because during that time they were taught not to talk about it. But I'm very happy to say that I was just home, and the two churches are now having fellowship together. And the pastors have just locked up and become best friends. And my pastor of the black church had his 40th anniversary, and the pastor from the quote-unquote, we don't even like to say that now, black church, white church, but the predominantly white church, he actually gave the sermon. And so the churches are united together, and now they're looking at community issues. And so my point is allies, whereas these were, and all this time I would venture, folks been driving past. There was one grocery store. I'm from rural America. Let me tell you, Winfield. Yeah, this is city compared to where I'm from. All right. We didn't have a dealer. We had one store called Coker's. And the only thing about Coker's, you did have an in-house account that you could put stuff on, and then that was about it. And one drug store. So you just think about this small community. Everybody was going to the same grocery store. Everybody was paying. And back in the days, you went to pay your light bill, young people. You didn't do it online. Back in the day, you went to the light company. You went to the gas company, and you paid your bills. So you know people were seeing each other, but did not realize that they were allies. But now it's amazing how the two churches are working together. Economic development is spurring. They have a Walmart. I cannot believe it. They've got public water down there now. They didn't have any public water, only in certain areas. Even in the lower income communities now, there is public water. Now that sounds crazy in 2024 that people would not have public water, but we didn't. But my point is, they come together and they're caring for their community in the beloved community that Dr. King was hoping for.
Have other questions?
I have one. So I love teaching about critical thinking too, but I find when you get to college, it's almost a little too late in some aspects because it's very hard to open people's minds. Is there any way that you can maybe provide some guidance on how to maybe do a crash course and help people get there?
That is a very, very good question. Thank you so much for that question. You know what I do? So in my role in diversity, equity, and inclusion, I work for Hexion Chemicals. We're a chemical manufacturing company. Our plants are in very interesting communities throughout the country. I was just in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. And so trying to teach folks who've been on the job for 30 years making resins to think more critically is challenging. But here's what I found, is that putting people in case studies that take them out of their environment to play with it and give them some notions. And so what I've done is I've written these cases. And the cases are fun. I've got one about the Glitz Hotel. And it's all about how there's a little something going on at the front end of the hotel, and the bellman need some interaction, and you've got to make a decision. I give them 4 choices. They aren't the best choices, but they're the only 4 choices that they have. The direction is select the best option. And the direction is, what would you do? And students always tell me, what I do at the college? Well, what about this? No. This is all you have to make. You have, but they don't say, Dr. Blackman, I don't want to do that. I said, I understand that. But the option 5 will come later, but you only have options 1 through 4. And it forces them to do the analysis. And it forces them to say, well, it's not fair that he did da-da-da-da. I said, this ain't about fair. This is about 4 choices in life. And I mean, sometimes students get really upset with me. Dr. Black, I just think things should be changed. That hotel should do this, and he should have to do this. I said, I hear you, but 4 choices. And so we go through it, and I ended by saying, so what is the best choice based on the information that we have? And my notion is, this is how life is. Yes, it's not fair. Yes, we don't have all the information, but we have to make the best choice with the information that we have. Now, let's talk about choice 5. What would you want to see? And then they kind of build it out. So I write lots of different scenarios. This is what I found in the DE&I space, If I come in and say to this young man, you need to embrace diversity, inclusion, and this is my definition, people gonna push back, I don't see it that way, this is how I see it, this is how I see it. But if I give him an opportunity, or her an opportunity to just consider another lens, people will come to their own aha. People ask me all the time when I go to conferences, how are you getting your folks engaged in this work? Now there's this big thing out there where everybody says DEI is under attack. Oh, they're coming for you. People are getting fired, people are losing their jobs because of the decision that the affirmative action, the Title IX, which has nothing to do with corporate America. But if you read the headline, everybody in corporate America is running around screaming, oh, what's going to happen? I said, ain't nothing happening. What you talking about? That was Title 8, Title 7, they got to do with us. I said, here's what you got to do. You got to build a tent. When you say diversity, that every single person in this room can see themselves in that definition. At Hexion, we say for all. For all is our diversity brand. So when we say diversity, it's diversity for all, period. And we got marketing all around, for all. And so when people say that, for all. When they put out for all. When I was in Sheboygan, I had this guy, well, I said for all. He said, well, it seems like you focus on women for all. I just kept saying for all. And then he finally said, oh, it's for all. I said, yeah. Let's clarify why you see me doing things with women while I'm here. Now we move to the E. Diversity is for all, but when we talk about equity means that I'm going to have to do things and it may be different based on the circumstance. Right? So I may have to do a little something extra because of where people are starting. And in my industry, unfortunately, we need to do a lot of work to get more women in our industry. And so I created a women's leadership program at the shop floor level. I mean, we've got women that comes to professional roles, but I want to see women superintendents and women plant managers and that kind of thing. And so we created this program that's specifically helping women get into those roles. And so this guy said, well, what about me? I said, you're not going to have no problem. Let me show you the stats right now. Based on the data right now, man, you got every opportunity to be a superintendent. This isn't taking anything away from you. You will get into the regular superintendent program, but I got to get my women in, they can't even get in the program. They're not even getting selected to get in the superintendent program because they don't have these fundamentals, and they don't have the fundamentals because they haven't been given the opportunity to build the fundamentals. So I've just created an equitable opportunity so that women can get selected the same way as men can get selected. They're going to go through the same program that you're going through, but I'm just kind of building them up so when they come to the table to interview, I don't want to hear no more, we can't promote them because they don't have this, they don't have this, they don't have that. We don't know if he got this and that. So they can bring that to the table and that they can equitably participate. Hire the most qualified person every single time. Hire the most qualified person every single time. I don't hire unqualified folks. People, if they need to go get something, you got to go get it. But if you don't have an opportunity, I've been in HR for 25 years. And I had folks telling me, you need to go to this, I had to go to this, I had to do that. Finally, I had to say to the CHRO, I ain't doing nothing else. Now either this is okay, or I got to go somewhere else. Or some folks say this is, and then he said, okay, well, yeah, you're right, Ryan. Maybe we should do something. But seriously, I think we have to create opportunities, first of all, that make sure that everybody feels a part of it. I kind of went around your question. But I think we have to create opportunities for people. Because see, this is the thing. I'm not trying to change you. I'm not trying to change your thought. I'm not trying to change what you believe. If that's what you believe, that's fine. But what I'm trying to ask you to do is do the critical analysis about what you believe. Don't just let the rhetoric, because if you do that analysis, your beliefs might evolve a little bit. They may not completely change, but you may begin to realize that women should have the same opportunity that I have. You might begin to realize that people of color can do just as much as I can do. That it really ain't about optics, it's about abilities, and if everybody had the same chance, then this may look different. You may change your thought process if you allow it, because I know I'm evolving. It's a journey, I'm not there. Every day I learn something from folks around me. However, if I don't do the analysis, people, that's what this builder thing is all about. I love this notion of being builders. You gotta challenge each other as well. Somebody running to the dorm or whatever says, you got to challenge that notion. And ask yourself, because the decisions that you make today are going to impact the rest of your life. And here's the thing I'm going to say to you, brother. My life wasn't no crystal stair either. But what I like to tell young people is this. We don't get to choose how we come to this world, but we get to choose how we live it. And the first step is getting this solid education at Southwestern. You're looking at a poor black boy from Pales, South Carolina, that started at $3.35 an hour, being the maintenance man at McDonald's. I was the oldest student too, bro. I'm packing, UPS trucks on the weekend, was working at a gas station, trying to go to the University of South Carolina, and then on campus ringing up groceries in the market center. I didn't get to go to the football game and all of that, because I was working my way through college. It was just me and my mom. So I was going through that thing, but guess what? $3.35, then it kind of got to, when I was making $5 an hour, I thought I was getting paid. Then I got to $9.12 an hour. I was the shift manager at Kentucky Fried Chicken. My chicken was the best place. Everybody in town on Sunday, the pastors would come to my Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I was working my way through USC. And then I get out of college, I had lots of roles. But today, when I had pasteboard in my shoes. I used to tape my shoes up, put pasteboard in them. That's why I got a shoe fetish. I buy shoes all the time. But seriously, I go from nothing, picking up trash and bottles. Today, I'm a corporate executive. I make high six figures, baby. I'm talking about sister here and my brother-in-law. I'm driving this Chrysler 300 that's paid for. But we done roll down hitting this Volvo. And I'm thinking, man, this Volvo is nice. But I'm chilling. I just, I don't have the big house and all that, just so big house. I done downsized to a 55 plus community. I got me a nice little community I live in now. They take care of everything, and I'm chilling. I got a niece that's like a daughter to me who's 28 doing her thing. We just traveling. And it wouldn't have happened without a solid education.
Amen.
And that's what King talked about. Education is the key. Now, is money ain't everything. I don't want to give the impression that it was about money. But as Florida Evans said on Big Time, it sure make the world go better. Now, I love serving my community. I'm a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. I'm a proud member of Sigma Pi Phi. I'm constantly volunteering in the communities. However, Oprah said, love is good, but you ain't got no money. That love ain't too good. So, you gotta have money, right? But here's the thing that touches my heart the most, is what you said. The fact that I was able to come through my situation. My grandmother did not have to take half of a pill. When my grandmother needed health care, I said, screw Medicaid. You're going to get what you need. You need this machine, I got you. It was hard for her to accept it from me. But that was the most proudest moment, is when my niece called me and said she was $1,000 short and couldn't go back to school. I said, baby, you get on back down to school, because I'm calling right now. Your $1,000 is waiting on you. All right? That's really what it's about, bro. When my papa, his knee, he got an amputee, They tell him, well, the VA only gonna pay for this, you can't. I said, what else does he need? No, this is my papa. He gonna get what he needs. So I went to their case manager and I said, look here, here's the credit card, but they don't care, they whatever, because my grandparents were very proud. They just, for me to just go do it for them, it was hard for them to do that. So I had to also make sure they maintained their dignity. And they didn't feel, because Papa was like, he wasn't taking any, no. So I went behind the scenes, met with everybody that they did business with and said, look here, our grandson, their credit card, when they come in here, you just tell them this is whatever. And there's some special program, and it's all qualified. So grandma called me and said, grandson? I said, yes ma'am. You ain't got to worry about my glasses no more. I went there, they said it's a new program that I'm in. I said, so now see baby, you take care of yourself. Because my grandparents, they just could not, because of their lifetime, think about it, they came through Jim Crow, depression. They couldn't, I'm first generation. I'm first generation white collar in my family. They can't even imagine what is it like to be, my office is on the 30th floor in the tower, downtown Columbus, overlooking the state capitol. I'm sitting up on the top floor with the CEO chilling. They can't even, the concept of it. And so, for them, they always thought that I needed to save my money because they were worried I wasn't going to be able to pay my bills. But I was able to do what I needed to do for them. My grandmother died last year. A sister died. I lost them all at the same time. But at the end of the day, when I told Don, I said, I wasn't distraught because I know Jesus and I understood the situation. But I felt all as well. I said, I did all that I could for them, and I tried to make their, and so at the end of the day, my success for me here is that I can do for them, and that I can do a little something to support them 2 days over there too. All right, thank you.
Amen.